Former President Trump said his advice to Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is to quickly wrap up the war in Gaza and get back to normalcy, warning that Israel is badly losing the public relations battle with its campaign against Hamas. Trump called into conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt's show Thursday morning and was asked about recent comments he made that were perceived to be critical of Israel's campaign in Gaza. And so, are you still 100% with Israel? And what's your advice, Netanyahu, beyond get it over with in a hurry? Hewitt asked. Well, that's all the advice you can give. I mean, that's the advice Trump said. You've got to get it over with, and you have to get back to normalcy. And I'm not sure that I'm loving the way they're doing it because you've got to have victory, he continued. You have to have a victory, and it's taking a long time. And the other thing is, I hate they put out tapes all the time. Every night they're releasing tapes of a building falling down. They shouldn't be releasing tapes like that. That's why they're losing the PR war. Israel is absolutely losing the PR war. The former president added that Israel must finish what they started. They've got to finish it fast, and we have to get on with life. Israel is facing mounting scrutiny following a drone strike that killed several humanitarian aid workers with World Central Kitchen who were helping deliver food in Gaza. The Biden White House, Democratic lawmakers, and watchdog groups have for months urged Israel to do more to protect civilians and to allow aid into Gaza, where tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed since the war began, following Hamas attacks in Israel in October. The former president, who is also the presumptive GOP presidential nominee, has offered few insights into how he would handle the Israel-Hamas conflict if he were in the White House. Instead, he's asserted repeatedly that the war would have never started if he were president. Trump has highlighted his administration's support for Israel, though he's also attacked Jewish Americans who vote for Democrats or do not support Israel, suggesting they hate their own religion. I'm so sick of that trash. If you don't support my political party or our crappy apartheid state government, you're not Jewish enough. It's so stupid. But just to go over some of what was said here, and I'm always glad when these people are actually talking about issues. His advice is to get it over with and go back to normalcy, which I would like this conflict to end. I mean, I think any peace-loving person would like to see a war conclude, but I think he should, if he's actually serious about wanting this to be over, specify, do you support a ceasefire? What are the terms of this conclusion? Are both sides going to compromise to some degree or another? Is Israel going to change its objective from attacking Palestinians indiscriminately in its attempts to get back at Hamas? Like I just wish these people were more specific, because their supporters don't care. They're fine with them just saying things, but I wish they were more specific about what are the parameters of this conclusion supposed to be. You have to have a victory, and it's taking a long time. I mean, let's see, November, December, January, February, March. So it's been almost, roughly close to 6 months, which in terms of conflicts, that's not really that long. I mean, the Ukraine war has been going for 2 years, so I'm not going to say it's taken a long time. I think this could stretch out easily for a year or even longer than that. The other thing, they put out tapes all the time. They're releasing tapes. They shouldn't be releasing that. That's why they're losing the PR war. Well, Israel has a pretty tunnel vision-esque perspective that they need to destroy Palestinians. And it really doesn't bother their government if other countries who have no power to stop them from doing this are having a problem with, the various casualties that are piling up as a result of their carnage and destruction. But no, this is... I would rather not even talk about it, because I tend to try to avoid... There's just so much Trump news, like, every day, stuff with the court trials. If somebody says something about him on his website. This is one of the ones that's interested me the most, because I'm very fascinated by... Like, if you look at the United States, back when Trump declared Israel was, put the U.S. embassy, switched its placing. There were some progressive voices that were against Netanyahu, against the treatment of Palestinians. But for the most part, Israel was still a country that was respected, that the United States would unequivocally say it supported, it backed. And this conflict, where it has allowed, where the Israeli government and its individuals in power have allowed their hubris from the fact that they've been enabled for decades to just treat Palestinians like second-class citizens, is finally getting some true bipartisan pushback. And it just goes to show you that in such a short amount of time, just a few years, public support for Israel, what Trump's calling the PR battle, has eroded. It is going further and further. I mean, if you told me 10 years ago that we would have a U.S. president who is actually threatening to cut off aid to Israel if it doesn't do something to stop all these humanitarian disasters it's causing with its indiscriminate attacks, I would have said you're crazy. But the tide seems to be turning. And I just wish that Trump was more forthright with his condemnations of the Israeli government. Especially with someone who, like, I guess if you want to say it's because he's had such a long affiliation with Netanyahu, since Netanyahu knew his dad back when he was a student over here, you could say that. But you would think he'd be in a stronger position than anyone to say, look, I praised Israel. I was this big supporter and defender of it during my 4 years. If I come back, I don't want to have to quantify that by saying I don't support this conflict you guys are in. I think he could probably, if he were truly some peace-loving man, as his supporters love to say that he is, actually sit Netanyahu down and say you're not. It doesn't matter if you're liberal, conservative, left wing, right wing. Americans, by and large, including the people that are their supposed representatives, are not backing killing a bunch of innocent people because you have a problem with a small group of monsters that shouldn't have done, admittedly shouldn't have done what they did on October 7th. But it's nice to see more and more criticisms of Israel. It's really refreshing after years of just blanket support.